Dogumentary TV, producing the best breed documentaries on YouTube.
My name is Sara Ruffin.
Ray Ruffin.
And we are proud French Bulldog owners. According to the AKC, the Frenchies French Bulldogs are well-behaved, adaptable, and comfortable companions. And they have a really affectionate nature and even disposition, which is very true for our puppies.
The nickname for French Bulldogs is a clown dog, and it definitely applies to our two. Ruka definitely does a lot of tricks, likes to keep you happy. Wilson's a little bit more spontaneous. He just finds random ways of doing things that make me laugh. But Ruka specifically, she's definitely a bit of a character.
I got Ruka 10 years ago. So she's gonna be 10 this summer. And I got her when she was 8 weeks old. I actually got Ruka when I was graduating from college. I've always been a dog owner and I've always had Labradors. And I was looking for a city dog that I could have in my first apartment alone. And I found Ruka. It was before the breed was really popular. So there weren't a lot of breeders at all. And so it took me a long time to find her. But on SF Gate, there was a posting about a guy that accidentally got his French Bulldog pregnant, which is pretty rare. And so he was interviewing people to find the right fit. He wasn't really looking to make money. He just wanted to make sure his puppies went to a good home. So I got lucky. They're really good city dogs because they don't need a lot of space, and they're super drawn to people. They love to be around people, so living alone, they just keep you company. And they also have big dog personalities, but they're small, so that was something I was looking for. They don't bark a lot, and they're super lazy.
I always wanted my own dog, and I always wanted a boy dog. And Sara, she knew that, and she surprised me with Wilson 2 years ago as a Christmas gift. So he was I named him Wilson, actually. You ever see the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks? He had that volleyball. And there's that scene where he's crying because he lost his best friend. So I always felt that if I had a dog and something happened to him, I would feel the same way. So that's how he got the name Wilson.
The funny thing was we would joke for years about one day you'll get your Wilson. We didn't actually think we were gonna call him Wilson, but then we saw him, we're like, all right, this is Wilson for sure. So living with Frenchies is never a dull moment. In the morning, we call it the running of the bulls because they'll run full speed into the kitchen to eat. So we feed them in the morning right when we get up, and then I work from home. So while I'm at my computer, they're always at your feet. Frenchies, they don't really leave your side. They're super drawn to humans. They love just being around you. So even if I go into another room, go into the bathroom, wherever I go, they follow me. You know, they spend a lot of time with you. So in the morning you feed them and they're going to be pretty active probably until about 11 o'clock. And then after that, it's lights out. They're going to sleep. But when they're awake, they're always with you. If you're watching TV, and Wilson likes to have contact, so he will physically nuzzle up to you almost every time you're around. He has to touch.
Yeah, Ruka's a little bit more independent. She kind of roams around a little bit. The only time that Wilson is independent is at night. So at night, we'll go to bed, Ruka will come with us, and they have their beds at the foot of our bed. Wilson will stay out on the couch because he's just stubborn, he doesn't want to move. And then you leave the door open, he's going to be in the bedroom within the next 3 hours.
And we're totally fine with that because Frenchies do snore. Like, that's the one thing to consider, especially the square, the face. So Wilson, Ruka doesn't snore too much, but Wilson, he has a really square face and he snores pretty loud, louder than Ray. So like, he's a snorer, but it's almost like comforting. It's like having like a sound machine in the room because it's like a constant buzz.
So when I grew up, we had a pet dog. The dog wasn't allowed to sleep in the bed. So I inherited Ruka by marriage, and Ruka was her bed partner essentially when we got married. And I was like, I ain't having that.
She slept like right here. Like we spooned.
Yeah, and I'm a big guy, so I need all the space I can get. So, you know, she was receptive to it. I just basically said she has to go, and she was receptive to it. Now, she'll still sneak into the bed, but on her side, away from me.
Only at the feet.
Yeah, and she'll nuzzle her way underneath the blanket, especially in the winter months when it's colder. Now, Wilson's a different story. He, if it's cold, he's gonna find warmth. So you can look at him and he knows to get off the bed. But when you go to sleep, he's gonna find a way to sneak onto the bed and try not to disrupt you. Actually,
when Ray and I met, I did tell him like, Ruka and I are a package deal. So it's like, you take me and the dog or you don't get me at all. So I think he understood like there were certain things with Ruka and I that he wasn't gonna be able to break.
I like Ruka.
Yeah. And then actually there was a time when he moved back to San Francisco and he was like kind of a dog owner, but not like me, like sleeping with my dog, like doing everything with Ruka. And then when he was looking for work, it was a summer and the World Cup was on and he just sat with Ruka for a whole summer and she like wouldn't leave his side.
So the life expectancy of a French Bulldog is 10 to 12 years. So according to the AKC standards, the weight of the French Bulldog shouldn't exceed 28 pounds.
One of the things that I've done to help improve her life and her health is just keep her really active. I also feed her a really clean diet. I think that's helped a lot. I've made sure that her weight stays down, and I think being around people all the time really helps. She's like constantly surrounded by people, so I see a lot of other Frenchies her age and they just kind of, their joints look kind of stiff, and so I think a combination of diet and exercise has really helped.
There's a dry food that I really like, and what I'll do is I'll mix that with pumpkin seed, and I heard that's really good for their hip. But also I like to make their own food, so it'll be a combination of chicken parts with carrots. They like that a lot.
So some of the things that we take into consideration with the breed is heat is a huge factor. So when we take them on walks, it's usually in the morning or in the evening because they can overheat pretty easily. We also have a house in Arizona, so we don't really bring them out into the heat very often. That's a huge factor with their breathing, especially Wilson. He has a really square head. So one of the things we looked for when we picked them out was the size of their nostrils, how easily they could breathe, even when they were running. And then cleaning their folds. We make sure like their folds are always clean. That helps a lot with their breathing.
So for exercise, we take them to the park, and when we're there, we'll let them run freely. They'll play fetch, so especially with the older one, Ruka. She's really good at it, and Wilson has just really recently learned how to fetch. But a big part of it is just let them run freely, and the walks in the morning or the afternoon is really key.
Yeah, well, just like any brachiocephalic breed, one of the biggest factors is their smush face and their ability to breathe freely. So heat, reducing the amount of having them outside in the heat can really create issues there. Also,
we limit their walking. You
yeah,
know, really no more than a mile. We're really sensitive to how far they go. We pay attention to when they start to overheat.
So weight is also a huge factor. We make sure that they don't eat more than a measured amount at a certain time of day. And then we'll cut back even a little bit if we notice their weight. If they're getting a little bit less exercise, like in the summertime when it's too hot, we will cut their food back a little bit. So try to keep their joints really free and easy. We also have ramps, you know, like little step stairs so that they don't jump. I think that can be a factor with Frenchies because they're so dense. So we try to make sure that they're able to easily get up and down off things without putting a ton of weight on their joints. Yeah, we have a lot of rules in terms, well, he has more rules than I do. Like, they're not allowed on certain furniture. Like, they get fed the same time of day. What other rules?
Biggest thing is keeping them off certain furniture. I think that's the biggest thing. Feeding, we have them on a strict schedule with feeding, so it's always right when we wake up, so usually about 8 o'clock, and then we'll feed them again right around 5.
And we don't let them bark. We try to really limit. They're not big barkers in general, so we've really tried to keep that at bay. We've been less successful implementing rules with our guests because people, when they see Frenchies, it's like seeing a baby. Like, there's something about Frenchies that people just are, even if we had rules, when people come by, they like want the dogs next to them and they'll bring them everywhere, try to feed them, all those things that we don't do. So yeah, and now that they've gotten so popular, the breed, it's like anywhere we walk, people will surround us, try to play with them. So we actually used crate training for both of our dogs until they were about 1.5 years. Especially at night, that's how we potty trained them pretty quickly. Crate training worked really quickly with both dogs. And I found that they both wanted to be in their crate. Like at night, they will go into their crate on their own. And then we eased out of using the crate for both of them. So when we leave the house, we don't put them in a crate.
Right. And I think the advantage of having two was the older one actually trained the younger one. That was a huge advantage in terms of pretty much everything. He just followed her. He learned to use the doggy door through her. Learned when to go to the bathroom. He would kind of follow her cycle. So it was a big help for us.
In terms of security, I think Wilson is like an early warning system. He wouldn't be able to take anyone out, but he gives them a little bit of a pause because he's really protective over me. He actually is like a guard dog, more so than my labs.
Baseball, the sport that I had the most passion for. I started playing when I was 5 years old and played all the way through high school. And I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals and Oakland A's fan. I even coach Little League right now. So I coach the Little League team and still like to try to find ways to play. But with the French Bulldogs, I can still kind of go out and throw the ball around and they'll play fetch with me. I enjoy it just as much as they do for the most part. And, since they are Frenchies, you kind of got to watch them, make sure that they don't overheat. So, it's about 10 to 15 tosses. You don't toss it as far. You kind of keep it close by. It's just important to watch their health, watch their breathing.
One of my greatest passions, and it used to be a hobby and now it's become a profession, is yoga. I consider myself a yogini. I practice yoga every day and I teach yoga as well. Also offer opportunities to get together and to heal. And I think that that's what Frenchies have done French Bulldogs have done in my life. They offer this sense of grounding and relaxation and joy, which is very similar to what yoga and meditation represent in my life. I think we would have 10 if we could. For us, I think the most important thing with Frenchies is just their personality and finding a good breeder. Because if you do, we're lifetime Frenchie owners now for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They're just non-conventional, goofy, loyal, lazy, super funny, But also, they're really smart dogs. I'm partial to big dogs before I got Frenchies, and I feel like we do have big dogs in many ways.
They have big personalities. I think the best thing about French Bulldogs, I think they're a classic mix of everything you'll want in a dog. They're playful enough, but they're not aggressive. They can be lazy, which is good when you want to unwind. It's kind of, you have a good mix. I don't feel like there's anything that they do in excess.
I could not imagine my life without French Bulldogs. They bring so much joy every day, like when I'm working, just every single day of my life is enhanced because of my Frenchies. So
I can't imagine another breed. I'm convinced we're going to always have at least 2 Frenchies in the house. If I could do more, I would do more. Just need a little bit more space. But I can't imagine life without them.